Hello and welcome everyone to round 9 of the PSGL F3 Championship here in season 28, the last season on the F1 2020 game. I'm very pleased to be back here commentating once again along with my co-commentator Jake. Good evening.
Evening. Yeah, sorry. Who are you again? No, I'm joking. It's great. It's great to have you back, and quite an important race to come back to as well because it potentially could be the championship decider tonight, which is always exciting.
Yeah, speaking of exciting, I think the track is one of those that we could definitely, name as a fan's favorite. It's not personally not my favorite track to drive because it's just a lot of 90-degree corners, but in real life F1 we saw many chaotic races in the recent years, and I hope today might prove some exciting things to see once again, and hopefully a bit of chaos as well. But yeah, like you've mentioned, the championship is maybe decided after this race tonight. We've got Cohen leading the way ahead of Daniel by exactly 16 points. And with 2 race wins in the bag for Cohen, he needs an 18-point gap actually for the next round to already secure the championship.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be an interesting one. Daniel absolutely has to beat Cohen tonight, and he needs probably some cars between himself and Cohen as well, really, to keep it really alive going to Brazil, not just mathematically alive, because you sort of then, if it's still around 14, 15 points, you sort of go to Brazil and you're relying on Cohen to have a DNF, and based on the season he's had, you're clutching at straws a bit.
Yeah, both with very similar records, to be honest. I mean, both have not finished or not started one of the races. Cohen DNF'd in Belgium, and Daniel didn't start in the Netherlands, where I wasn't here. I think that was the race you've missed as well, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe so. That was when Logan covered for us.
Yeah, and obviously that one race might hurt Daniel in the end, because he's got 4 podiums out of the 5 races. No, 5 podiums was correct, sorry. I'm getting confused with the lines in the championship table here. He's got 5 podiums out of 7 races, while our championship leader Cohen has actually got 6 podiums out of the 7 races he's finished. So a very close fight on a very high level of speed here for those two. A lot of consistency as well. And let's not forget about Luke as well, who still has a mathematical chance of winning the championship. Same goes for Girassi, but he's exactly 32 points behind.
Well, sadly for Luke, I think his chances of winning the championship are gone, because unfortunately he's not here tonight. So it is just, I would say, well, Girassi obviously can still win it, he is here, but Luke isn't, and that could provide a particularly interesting dynamic here, because Cohen is essentially fighting both Ferraris on his own. It's kind of a similar to Verstappen versus Mercedes, as it has been for a lot of the time. Obviously, you've got Dartbolt in the Haas, but he's a reserve, so he's got no ties to Cohen, and I don't think he'll be helping him.
Yes, we're right on board with Dartbolt, who comes around the final couple of corners, who are flat out, obviously. Making up the longest straight of the street circuits in the Formula 1 calendar, and Dartbolt only goes 4th fastest with 1.4 seconds behind the leader and nearly an entire second behind the next car. So that is not good, but Daniel starts off with his banker and he is ahead of Cohen after both have set their first laps. But let's see what Girassi can do as he comes across the line. It's actually interesting to see that we are here in Baku this weekend, as the next race in real life F1 is Baku as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice little matchup in that regard, and I think we'll get good races both here and in IRL. Good luck by Girassi, splits the 2 Ferraris. Looking at Girassi's results, it's very much hit or miss. When he does get into points, he's always fourth at least or better. But he's had 3 races where he's not finished in the points. Like, he's not had a DNF or a DNS. He's just not been in the top 10. So Girassi's issue has been consistency. Without those 3 non-scores, he could have easily been up there as well.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing around this circuit is that it's just so difficult to keep your concentration up for the entire race distance. It's quite a long race, actually. And it's quite exhausting for the drivers because just the walls are so tight to the car at most occasions. Obviously, we have the castle section that Girassi is going through now, where it's very, very easy to just make a little mistake and end up in the wall. That might ruin your entire race weekend, as Kazizel goes on to provisional pole with his banker. Got a lap here from him, a 37.4. And I gotta say, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I'm excited to see if Cohen, he needs to gain 2 points on Daniel to secure the championship already. But I think if Daniel doesn't massively outscore Cohen here tonight, it's got to be difficult for him to win it in the last round.
Yeah, and I think it'll please Daniel. I know at the moment he's only 1 place in front of Cohen, but it'll please Daniel, I think, that there are already 3 guys that look very quick in front of him, because he needs Cohen and himself to have competition, really. He can't, if he finishes first, but if Cohen's in behind him in second, that does no good for him, really. That's not enough. He needs help, and it looks like one of the drivers that might help him tonight is his teammate, so we could get some potential teamwork going on there. Interesting to see how that unfolds. Speaking of the teams, the Haas haven't quite wrapped up the constructors yet, but it's incredible. Like, they need 4 points to win it, and that's if Ferrari get maximum points. So even with just the 1 Haas here this evening, I think it's very likely we'll be crowning Haas Constructors champions at the end of tonight.
Yeah, but obviously Cohen wants more than that. He doesn't only want the Constructors Championship to wrap up tonight, he also wants the Drivers' Championship to wrap up tonight. And yeah, this is the first time the championship can be decided. Actually, due to the good... Oh, as Daneko hits the wall on the inside on the exit of the castle section. After Daniel has won the last race, where he slightly put the gap down in between him and Cohen, who could have been crowned champion last week already.
Yeah, that was a crucial win for Daniel. It was one of those races where he really had to get the win. And thankfully for him, he managed it. It was a tough race for him, but he pulled it off. But the sad thing for him was that Cohen was second, so it wasn't too much gained in that regard. Both Danico and Cornet are very close on track, and have both had a few scruffy moments on their laps. So I'm not expecting we're about to see a pole position time here. But Cornet across the line almost proves me wrong, goes second.
Wow, good lap with that, even with those mistakes. He's up there.
Well, that's got to be a good sign as well, that he'll be right up there, because he's done a lap time good enough for P2, and there was definitely room for improvement there.
Yeah, and you know, we've already seen in quali some people making contact with the wall here and there, and you need to find the balance in between pace and still being safe to the walls. I think in quali, obviously, you push a lot more, you're a lot closer to the walls. But in the race as well, obviously, you don't want to leave too much of a margin to the walls, otherwise you're going to lose a lot of time. But if you're pushing too much, you just have to operate yourself once, and you end up in the wall, losing a bit of your front wing, or even breaking the suspension and ending your race early. So that's the difficulty of this track, and something very special around street circuits in general. And yeah, I think we could see a very chaotic race here. The safety car is not a rare occasion around here either.
And I think this is possibly one of the toughest tracks to set up your car for, because you're going to need good straight line speed. You've got a massive 1.4 kilometre straight at the end of a lap, but you've also got to get it through a lot of tight and twisty corners. So it's a real compromise in terms of setup, this one. And often you'll find yourself struggling around the corners because you know you can't afford to be a sitting duck once you get to that straight.
Yeah, and you're going to get past left, right and centre if you just haven't got the straight line speed. But just in the middle sector, if you've got not enough downforce, you're going to understeer into the wall at some point. As Menno improves but is not able to improve his position. Let's see who else is out on track. We've got Kryptonite coming across the line now, and he improves as well by 0.6 of a second, but as well he can't improve in terms of his starting position so far. Darkbolt goes up into P9. Let's see where Lorenzo goes. He goes up into 5th, puts himself ahead of the 2 championship leaders. Lakito comes across the line, sets his first lap. That was not a proper one, I reckon. He's nearly 5 seconds off the pace here. And let's see where the Alfa Romeo goes. Now he just starts his lap, sorry. But Ryan should be on a lap, and he's about to finish it. Yeah, Ryan goes into 11th. Not the best of laps from him. But still, once again, you can see how close the grid is. In between P1 and P6. There's P1 and P7 now, sorry, as Venom climbs up into the top 2. The gap in between P1 and P7 is less than 2/10, and around this long street circuit, that's really something special.
Well, I tell you what, Daniel, I think, is about to go onto pole position here. Across the line he goes. It's a 37.2 for Daniel. He takes pole position by over 1/10 of a second. It was a mammoth middle sector from him. And Cohen had improved. Cohen did a really good first sector, but actually lost time in the middle sector, so he's got time to find compared to his previous lap. But it just shows Cohen probably lost about a 10th and a half in that middle part of the lap. And if he hadn't lost that 10th and a half, he'd have been second. But instead he's 6th.
Let's see where Kazizo goes. He was up 2/10 of a second at the second sector split. He comes across the line and reclaims provisional pole from Daniel. So he could play a major role here tonight in that championship fight. Obviously, Daniel needs the win and needs maybe a bit of a weak showing from Cohen. But like you've mentioned, Cohen was so consistent over the entirety of the season. It's got to be really tough for him to make mistakes, or it's obviously not a nice feeling if you know it's not in your own hands. As Danurko improves and up into P3 goes. Very good lap from him. Slots in behind the championship second place, man. But yeah, obviously as a driver, it's never a nice feeling when you know no matter what you do, you still need to rely on your rival to not perform the way you'd expect him to perform.
No, there's no doubt about it. You want to be the guy in front in the championship. You never want to be a chaser, because when you're a chaser, you're effectively, it's out of your hands. You can only do so much, and that might not even be enough. So it's Cohen's in the pound seat at the moment. It's on him. But I've got to be honest, obviously it's not completely perfect, but I reckon if you ask Daniel right now, if he had the option to end qualifying with it as it is right now, I don't think he'd say no. I think he'd be quite happy to start second with Cohen in 7th.
Yeah, and with 3 minutes 40 to go, everyone's got one final lap probably. So Cohen has to make his final run work, otherwise he'll start down in 7th or even worse. So yeah, now he needs to find the balance in between pace and not, over driving the car, maybe losing the rear end and then sliding into the wall.
That's it, and that's the thing, you almost don't want to go too quickly out the blocks in qualifying, because you then start overdriving, looking for time that's not really there, and that's of course where you end up in the walls. So right now, Kazizel looking very strong. He's done 2 very good laps in qualifying, and looks like he's got this track pretty well nailed early on. But we know we've got Baku this week, we've got Brazil next week. These tracks are prone to throwing up some surprises and drama, so Cohen's got that lead, but this track and obviously Brito Lagos next week, those are not the kind of tracks you want when you're battling for a championship, because they tend to throw up unusual things.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I would love to see Baku wet weather race in real life, but I think we wouldn't even need the rain here in the game for an exciting race tonight. But in real life, obviously, it's not too unrealistic, considering how the weather is at the moment in the entirety of Europe, basically. I think it's not the May we've all expected it to be in terms of temperatures and weather. I mean, it's typical, it's normal for Britain probably, because we all know the British summer. But
if you can call it that.
but yeah, it's the same for Germany. We had rain in Italy as well. So who knows? Maybe it's rain here in Baku as well for the race when the quali ends, as Menno is going to be the first one to set his final lap.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it is dry, something that I spotted in F8 yesterday is that every single driver that qualified outside the top 10 now, that's not actually that many because obviously I think we only had 14 or 15 in F8 last night, but every driver who started outside the top 10 opted to start on the hard tyres and did a hard to soft strategy. So, and it worked out for one driver. One driver was whiskers away from winning the race, actually got the lead with 2 laps to go, but then literally one corner after they got the lead spun into a wall. So the hard to soft strategy is very viable here. And just looking at the guys outside the top 10, one driver who I would keep an eye on in the race, if it is dry, is Kryptonite. I get a feeling on that strategy, he could be a bit of a dark horse.
Yeah, Kryptonite had some races where he suddenly appeared inside the top 5 without really being noticed all too much. Like you've said, the dark horse more or less. And it's not a bad sign, as I was scared that Tunetank was going to swerve ahead of him here. I think there was a Red Bull that slightly got in Menno's way. Hopefully not all too much.
Menno started his last lap quite early on, which meant he's caught people about to start their final laps. He's improving by a couple of attempts, but there's a big gap between him and the next driver, so I don't think this will move him up any positions. Let's find out across the line. No, he stays 10th. It is an improvement. But like I said, there was a 3.5 tenth gap to Lorenzo in front, so it didn't actually do anything for his position. And I believe the next driver is Dartbolt, but he's done a roughly similar first sector time, so he's going to need to try and find some time in the final 2 sectors.
It looks like our timing is glitched once again, because Kryptonite came across the line after the time was over, but he's still allowed to do his lap. So I reckon that's just once again Cody's being Cody's. And Cohen is going to be the first one to set his final lap from those guys who have just started it, because this is also now about to start his lap. So it looks like he's had a pretty good timing. He will have the best possible track as Cohen slightly hits the wall on the outside here, coming out of the last corner of the second sector. Now onto the straight he goes. That looked like a solid exit. Let's see where he can put his house on the grid. Right now it's not looking too good for the championship leader, but as he comes across the line, let's see where he ends up then. Can he fight for pole as he comes across the line? P3 behind Daniel, but for the moment it is P3 for him. Corne pits. Corne couldn't
Daniel's pitting
Daniel
as well.
pits as well, yeah. Danerko has invalidated, Venom has invalidated. Girassi is about to come across the line. He's not improving all too much at the moment, only P6, and it looks like not many people are able to improve all too much. Let's see, Lorenzo could move up a couple of spots. Yes, indeed, P4. And yeah, Darkboard has abandoned his lap.
Kryptonite 6th.
And Lakito is going to be the last one of those guys who are still on a quick lap. Apart from Kazizel, actually. Kazizel is still out on his lap. Does Lakito put his car? Only P13. But let's see.
That crucial lap from Cohen at the end. Oh, Kazizel trying to use a bit of a toe. Yeah. And he does improve. Yeah. And he didn't need to, but he gained half a temp.
Just for his ego. Sometimes that's important as well.
So, I mean, to be fair, he's been the outstanding guy in qualifying. 3 really tidy laps. He looks very comfortable around his track, but what a crucial lap from Cohen at the end. He would have been, if he hadn't improved, I think he would have been 10th, because he was on a 37.5 prior to that. So that is a crucial final effort. And annoyingly, I think for Daniel, there wasn't too many other improvements on those final runs.
Yeah, Cohen then right behind his championship rival, good starting position. So Cohen managed to wrap up his final lap of the quali session after it didn't look too nice for him as he was about to start his final lap. But yeah, he turned it around. And he needed to do that as well, because in Baku you really don't want to be in that midfield scrap at the start. You'd rather start at the front or even at the back. I think it's a bit similar to Monaco. You'd rather start at the back, especially in Baku, because in Baku you can really overtake as well. But if you're in the midfield, you just got a very high risk of losing bits of your front wing in that chaos on the first couple of laps.
Well, to back up that point, in F8 yesterday, we literally had 4 retirements by the end of lap 6. So, and they were all mostly in that midfield group, like you say, so it's not a place you want to be. But just look how tight it is. You go down from 3rd down to 10th. Like I said, it's literally less than 2 tenths in it, so super close, and it's all set up very nicely for the 2 championship contenders.
Yeah, because there's all slots in ahead of those 2 championship contenders. Then it is Daniel out of Cohen, Lorenzo Darnoco, Kryptonite, Venom, Girassi, Slimbo and Cornet rounds of the top 10. And I think with the 2 championship leaders who are fighting for the title starting right behind each other, I think that might spice things up a little bit here. And just imagine the scenes if they crash.
Oh, it would. There's been so many instances over the years where title rivals have collided, and would that potentially be another instance today? It is one of those circuits where contact is kind of inevitable, so they will have to take it easy at the start, that's for sure. But then I've got to say, fair play to Kazizel, and it's worth pointing out this because sometimes we forget in these how close these leagues are. To get pole by 2 tenths in a league as tight as this, 2 tenths is a big margin.
That is a good point, so let's not forget about that. But we'll have to wait for the race as well, because the race is a completely different story. And I gotta say, it's a difficult situation for Cohen, isn't it? I mean, he's the one that's got everything to lose. Daniel's got nothing to lose. He's behind in the championship. He's the chaser. And if you are the chaser in this situation, I think you're going into the weekend obviously with a bit of pressure, because you need to perform to keep your championship hopes alive. But you know, if he now doesn't perform the way he wants to perform, he's lost nothing. He just stays second. But if Cohen crashes or retires, he's lost everything. So basically, Daniel has got very slim chances of winning the championship if he doesn't majorly outscore Cohen here tonight. And Cohen has got all the pressure on him.
And I would say if he can even get the gap down to about 8 points going to Brazil, that does give him a decent chance, because, you know, we all know what Brazil can be like, and it's a very slender margin to have if he can at least half the current deficit of 16 points. So this is a big opportunity, and this isn't a track where you want to be nervous around, because if you drive nervous around here, you can end up in the wall. You've got to have confidence in what you're doing. You've got to believe that the car will stick when you throw it in. So this is all about mental pressure now for Cohen. Can he handle the nerves? Because he is in that position, and all it will take is one mistake and he could throw it away.
It's a difficult one. It really is, isn't it? I mean, you've got so much pressure. You've got so much, you know, that you can lose as a championship leader, and especially at such a street circuit where it's so easy to slightly make contact with the wall and ruin your entire race. It's such a difficult situation with so much pressure, and I think some drivers would get nervous, but I gotta say, I really trust Cohen in that aspect, that he's got enough confidence in himself that he will still perform at his highest possible level.
And of course, the real sort of joker in the pack at the front is Kazizel, because he's at the front. He's not going to care one jot about the championship battle. He's just going to be going out there to try and get 16 points for himself. And that in itself is going to throw up challenges, because if Daniel and Cohen want to pass him, they'll be all too aware that Kazizel, you know, he's not going to have a championship to think about. He'll want to hang on to that position. So I'm going to just see how Daniel and Cohen approach this. Will they be aggressive, or will they be cautious?
I think it's going to be more of an aggressive race, rather from Daniel than from Cohen, if I'm honest. But yeah, the cars are lining up now on the grid. So the lights are coming on for us now, but they aren't for the drivers just yet. But I think we're very close to lights out here. And we are underway here in Baku. It seems to be a solid start from Daniel in P2. And he tries to attack the leader going into turn 1. But he's got the inside line. Nice one around the outside. Kazizel goes once again to hang on to his lead. Now he's got the outside line once again for turn 2. But he's managed to hold on. Nearly contact in the background. And it looks like everyone's kept him more or less clean. Cohen has dropped 2 positions.
Cohen's got damage. Cohen's got damage on the left-hand side of his front wing.
Well, yes, he has, and he's been dived down the inside once again from Danerko now, and he's got the outside line, and no front wing damage for him, so he might have a good shot at getting P5 here early on in this race. Good start from Danerko, it looks like, and yes, Danerko is past him, and up into P5 he goes, and that was a horrible start for Cohen.
I don't know, I'd have to see it again, but I think it may well have been contact on the back of Daniel that caused the damage for Cohen. Obviously, everyone concertinaing up at the start. And it slightly caught Cohen unawares, and he's got damage on that front wing, and now he's got a decision to make. Is he going to have to pit?
Fair play to Kazizel, though. He's managed really well to hang on around the outside of turn 1. It really looked like Daniel was going to take the lead coming down into the first corner. But well done by the Mercedes driver to hold that around the outside. And look up the front, there's Lorenzo trying to move down the inside of Venom. That's an odd spot to make a move. And now that might line up Danerko for another one, and he might move up into P4 here. Not quite, but he's now got a very long straight up ahead. And the slipstream from 2 cars in a row. No DRS activated yet. Obviously, Venom defends the inside line. Lorenzo goes on the outside line. Can Danerko slot him behind as Lorenzo and Venom are going side by side, and Venom pits. So it looks like Venom has got some damage, and Danerko down the inside into turn 1. Can he take P3? But around the outside goes Lorenzo. He holds on for now into turn 2. Once again the outside, and he backs out. What a brilliant first lap from Danerko, and up into the podium peg positions.
What a dramatic start, and fair play to Danerko. He got that move done nicely. And it would have been easy there for someone to lose a wing when the 3 of them were that close. So fair play for that. Venom obviously pitting, he obviously feels that the damage he can't carry on with. Cohen, interestingly, has carried on with the damage he's got, but he's just lost another place to Girassi. And it looks like the damage is really costing him, particularly, of course, for that middle sector, where you need the downforce off the front wing.
Yeah, I think Cohen just wants to go a bit longer into the race so he can still make that one-stop strategy work to fit the hard tyre and go till the end. Predicted pit stop strategy is lap 7, but I think you can take the hards even slightly longer, maybe 1 or 2 laps longer. But I think he at least needs to go until lap 4, lap 5 to actually make those hard tyres work to the end. And obviously he has no other choice, because as soon as he commits to the 2-stop and there is no safety car or anything, his race is basically over, and he nearly hits the wall on the outside. Now he has to defend once again from Slimbo, who had a little look down the inside into the last braking zone of this circuit, and no move done yet. But obviously DRS is going to be enabled on the next lap. Cohen is struggling through the last sector.
Out.
Venom is out after his pit stop. Can Slimbo pass Cohen before a safety car or VSC comes out? It looks like he can, and it looks like Cohen is going into the pit lane. Yes, the championship leader has to make a pit stop on lap 2 of this race.
I think he was hoping for a safety car or virtual, but he hasn't got it. So he's coming to pits. Cornet also in the pits getting a change of front wing, and Lakitu, I believe, as well, is also having a change of wing. So lots of damage going up and down the field, but those drivers probably were hoping for a virtual safety car at least, but they haven't had it. So Cohen really up against it now, and just a small tap on the back of Daniel's rear wing is all it took for those problems to occur. But I've got to say, look up front, Kazizel absolutely striding away from Daniel, and they've used similar amounts of ERS as well, so we don't know the fuel mix they're using. But Cazizl right now just looks so comfortable out front.
Yeah, Cohen absolutely not in a good situation. He's the exact opposite of Cazizl basically. Cazizl controlling the race so far, building up a gap, and now Cohen has to close down that gap to the cars ahead. And I don't even know if he can make it that easily on those tires. Lakitu was very unlucky because he started on the hard compound, so he couldn't make a switch onto them. So he definitely has to make a pit stop. He can't make those mediums work till the end. But I think Cohen might make it on those tires, but they're going to be absolutely dead.
Yeah, there was one driver who actually won yesterday, the newly crowned F8 champion Super Guy, who did 20 laps on mediums. But to be honest with you, he was really struggling on the last lap or two, and he said his tyres at the end were in the mid-80s. So, I mean, 20 laps is the most you could do, and that's at a push. I would say probably 18 is probably more likely, so no way Lakita's going to the end on those tyres. But the problem is, if you get damage when you start on the hards, it really kind of messes up your strategy for the rest of the race.
Yeah, Lakitu is basically out of contention for some points if no safety car or VAC comes out at any stage of the race. But I gotta say, great fighting already at the first couple of laps in this race. Lorenzo doesn't let Daneko breathe all too much, and neither does Daneko let Daniel breathe. He's closed down the gap. It was about 2 seconds at some point as Daneko went up into P3, and now it's come down to 7/10 of a second. So it looks like Daniel might be struggling a little bit.
Yeah, it looks at the moment like it's just bunching up from second, third and fourth positions. Girassi a couple of seconds further back. But I've got to say, Daniko's looking good. He had a great start, and now he's all over the back of Daniel. And Daniel, I don't know if he probably will know what's happened to Cohen, so I don't think he's going to fight this all too hard. He knows right now he needs to sort of play the long game. You are getting towards that stint where the soft tyres will be starting to wear away. You're probably a few laps away from a pit stop. So right now, it isn't too essential for Daniel to fight this too hard.
See, but Daniel isn't losing that much time to Cazizl. It just looks like that Daneko has got a lot more pace than we thought he might have. He started in P5, sorry for the voice crack by the way. He started down in P5, and within one lap and one corner he gained 2 positions, went up into P3, had some great fighting already, and he's now about to overtake our championship, our second place championship man. Was that correct? I'm not sure. I'm tired. I'm sorry. But yeah, Daneko not quite able to get all close enough to Daniel. Can't make a move just yet, but he's got a very low amount of ERS as well. And gotta say, Cazizl is really managing it well so far, as Kona's back in the points now due to Ryan's pit stop.
Yeah, and I'm guessing he's got the damage too, because you wouldn't have pitted on hards so early otherwise. And Ryan's just going to come out in front of Lakitu. That was super close, coming out the pits between the pair of them there. And Cornet also in the pits. I wonder if that might be a scheduled stop potentially. Does hards should be able to get to the end from there. So Cornet's come out just behind Cohen. So Cohen probably hoping for a bit of clear air to get his foot down. And he's not going to have that because Cornet's going to be hounding him all the way.
Gotta say, I'm a bit nervous after watching the Monaco Grand Prix. I'm a bit nervous now that after the TV director got so much hate for that horrible camera selection, that I'm gonna make similar mistakes and get hated on by you in the end when you're rewatching the stream. But yeah, I just hope not to cut away from a fight when it's happening. And I think we're about to witness one, as Slimball's very close to the rear end of Kryptonite, and is probably going to pass him with the help of DRS. Not using overtake just yet, but no, Kryptonite goes into the pit, same goes for Daniel, Daneko and Lorenzo.
I wonder if I'm just having a look here when he gets released. Oh, it's super close. Daneko and Daniel.
Daneko's jumped him.
Daneko's actually jumped Daniel. I thought Daniel did get held in the pits for a second, and that has cost him track position to Daneko, so it's not plain sailing for the Ferrari driver either. He's now lost that place to Daneko, who we saw already is super quick. But one thing I noticed on this game is that different sort of tyres, different stints of the race do seem to fluctuate who's quick and who's not. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers cope now they've switched to the hards.
I gotta say though that I feel a bit sorry for Daniel now, because that was a pretty unsafe release from the Alfa Romeo crew. He was literally released into him.
Cornet! Cornet was right behind Cohen. He got all locked up, and he's completely had to go off the road, I think, to avoid contact with the championship leader. He took to the escape road, but that's cost him so many positions, and that was a heart-in-mouth moment, I imagine, certainly for Cohen, when he probably saw the arrows flash behind him. But thankfully, no contact there, but it was an awfully close moment, and still Cohen's got no respite, because now Kryptonite's right behind him.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy to miss your braking point if you're just not paying attention for a second on the straight. Suddenly you just miss the 150 meter board, and before you realize that you've missed it and that the braking marker board is the 100 meter board instead of the 150, you've already out-braking yourself, and you're going straight on. Luckily, there is the escape road where Daniel Ricciardo crashed into Danny Kvyat a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's very easy to miss your braking point, to be fair. See
it really is.
How far Kazizo comes out ahead of... yeah, I don't know. Is the gap the same?
I think it's come down slightly. Obviously, he did do one extra lap, so the undercut would definitely have played a part, but to still be 2 seconds clear with one less lap done on the hards, I don't think he'll be too disappointed with that.
Oh, there goes Daniel. Is he going to go for a move into turn 3? That's a late lunge. That's a double lockup for him. But that was crucial to make the move, to not lose too much time to Danirko ahead, who obviously had a good timing coming up to Menno, who was still on his first set of hard tyres. And that was crucial. And yeah, it was committed, to be fair, but it was kind of dangerous as well.
Yeah, he had to, once he showed his nose at the inside, it was kind of a case of either he backs out or he goes for it. The important thing there was he went for it. He wasn't a half-hearted look up the inside, because that's where the incidents would have happened. So fair play to him. He saw Danico past Menno, and I think he got the impression that he really needed to get on with it as well. He couldn't afford to let Danico go too far on the road. He's probably seen already just how quick that Alfa Romeo is.
Now, I wonder if Daniel knows exactly about the situation of Cohen, because I'm not sure he does. That's a feature that F1 needs to add in the next couple of games, that you can, get some information about a specific driver in the race, because obviously that would really help him maybe get motivated. Because I know many people who are saying as Girassi is about to pass Menno, and yeah, that looked like an easy DOS pass. Yeah, it is, and slots in ahead. I know many people who get motivated because then they realize, obviously, in Daniel's situation now, if he sees that Cohen is down in 9th, he maybe has got more motivation, than thinking, all right, this is my chance to actually gain many points on Cohen, and I need to gain as many as possible. And for that, he needs to get past Danirko at some point in this race, and he can't afford to finish lower than, I don't know, 3rd, I'd say, if Cohen stays in 9th.
Well, I know a lot of drivers tend to have, certainly in the top tiers, do tend to have race engineers, so if Daniel does have a race engineer, obviously it would have been informed, but if not, then he knows he could be in the dark somewhat as to what's happened. I think he'll have sort of worked out that something's happened, but I don't think he'll know the full extent of it unless, like I say, as a race engineer. But
oh, Daniel's gone past Danirko. Danirko's crashed.
Danirko's off. He's got no front wing.
Yeah,
He's
into
gone
the
off
castle
in the
section.
Oh, an area where we've seen so many drivers. A big safety car, and that will be music to the ears of Cohen, I suspect.
Oh, I don't know if Daniel is going to be happy about that. On the one hand, he gained a position, obviously. He's now in net P2. But on the other hand, now his rival Cohen is basically back in the game. And Darkbolt has got a really good chance if he now works out a good strategy early enough. Can he make it till the end on the mediums, I wonder?
I think he will. Yeah, I think so, because it'd be about, 18 laps, which is around the crossover limit, but of course you've got 1 or 2 laps at least behind a safety car. So I think he could pit for mediums now, and I reckon Cohen will probably do similar as well. There's a few drivers here, Menno as well can also do that, so we're going to see a lot of drivers into pits here because Zizzle's staying out. So is Daniel. So is Girassi. Obviously, Dartbolt and Mena, who hadn't pitted yet, they're coming in. Obviously, Danico needs a change of front wing, so he's definitely.
Cohen stays out. Cohen has stayed out. So he rather goes for track position, it looks like. He's gonna be right behind his teammate on an old set of hard tyres. He's now on the oldest compound of tyres of the entire grid. In P7, that's not the best position to be in. But he's gonna have a hard time at the end of this race in terms of tyre wear. And obviously, all the guys behind him, nearly all of them, are on the mediums.
I'm really not sure about that for Cohen. The only thing that would potentially make that strategy work is another safety car period around 6-7 laps before the end, and then obviously he can stick on some softs. But yeah, he would, like, obviously track positions maybe come into his thinking, but he wouldn't have lost that many places anyway.
Do you think that might have been a decision because of the double stack he would have had to do? Because his teammate obviously was in the pits.
Potentially. I mean, he probably would have come out, maybe he'd have been ahead of Ryan. But other than that, I don't think he would have been ahead of too many of us anyway, so I don't think a double stack would have made that much of a difference. And obviously he started on soft, so you would assume he's got a fresh set of mediums available. So, I don't know. I mean, a safety car later on or a virtual could change things, and it's obviously quite likely around here, just because of the nature of his circuit. But I don't know. If we go from now to the end with no safety car, I think he's made an error.
I just saw Racing Point sitting at turn 4 here, and I was wondering why that dot is moving. Then I go on board, and I think Ryan has found the escape road again. Ryan's not having the best time right now. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah,
I think you can put Ryan and Lakitu this season into the category of have struggled to adjust to no racing line.
Yeah,
I think that's firmly, because obviously Ryan was the F4 champion last year. He beat Cohen in the F4 championship last season, but of course he could use racing line then.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to adjust, especially around street circuits. And who pits? Lorenzo pits 1 lap later than everyone else.
Nah, it's peculiar because he's got no teammate in this race, so he wouldn't have had. Oh, he's got a front wing change.
Oh yeah,
that explains it. There we go.
What has happened? I hope he didn't make contact with anyone. Let me quickly check, because I don't want to. No warning. So it must have been the wall then, or maybe he's just realised that he got light green from wing damage or something, and then decided to change it. Just want to give a quick shout out to every race engineer for one of those guys out here in the chat watching the stream, because obviously the race engineer is usually in the share play and then is watching the stream to be up to date with everything else. So if you're a race engineer, here's your tyre data, here's your penalties, and here's your pit stops.
Yeah, that's the state of play right now, and you've got a really intriguing race here. You've got a lot of drivers on mediums who can get to the end from here, then you've got drivers on the hards who are also aiming to get to the end, but on average the medium tyres are 6/10 a lap quicker than the hards, and that 6/10 could be crucial. So right now, you'd argue that someone who's in a really good position at the moment is Dartbolt up in 5th on the mediums.
I was about to say, I mean, he's one to keep an eye on in this race in terms of strategy. He's got a really good shot here, and as well, I still wouldn't count out Daneko. He's had great pace until his mistake, obviously, but he's at great pace. He's on the mediums, he's in 9th, he's in the same train because of that safety car, and I think with that, he's still got a good chance at even a podium, I'd say. So nothing's over yet for him, and I think he could be someone to watch out for as well. Will the safety car come in now as Ryan is caught up? I don't think it will. No, lights are still on. No, now they're going out. Oh, that's late. That's a very late call.
I don't think Kaziz will be a fan of that at all. It's not really giving him much chance to prepare. I mean, the trick round here is you're probably going to want to go as late as possible. You basically want to give the car behind as little straight as possible to try and have a go at you.
Yeah, obviously they'll have the slipstream from you, and that is not a thing you want to give them. It reminds me of Sebastian Vettel doing the restart in 2018, if I'm honest. I thought he was going to go there for a second, but now he has gone, and I think it was a solid restart. And I think Daniel might come under pressure from Girassi behind, and Girassi is lining up a move. He had a little look on the inside. Kryptonite's been overtaken around the outside by Menno. Brilliant move there by the Racing Point, and he's just about to overtake Cohen once again. Oh, I thought he was going to go for two moves in two. Two moves around the outside would have been a bit too much, but now he sits in the slipstream of the championship leader. Stays behind for now. Cornet though. Cornet, yeah, has made the move.
Yeah, of course. Say, Menno, what a lightning restart from him. And massive fair play there. I did not see that coming at all. Danico goes around the outside of Kryptonite. This is an unusual overtaking spot, but he's going to make it stick. What a fabulous move from Danico. I think that's possible if one of the first overtakes I've ever seen of that corner.
Yeah, that was quite a nice move. I couldn't switch the camera because I had to drink something. Because my throat dried up a little. Lorenzo was...
Oh, Ryan and Lorenzo side by side in the castle section! Oh, and there was some contact there, and I wonder if that's given some probably damage to Lorenzo. I think he's got away with it.
No, I think I had the worst possible camera angle because I was watching from the front right end plate of Lorenzo's front wing, so I couldn't even see Ryan. So I didn't even get excited as Corney's just passed Kryptonite now. And it looks like Lorenzo had a lot of luck there and got away with it. But it looks like Cazizzo and Daniel have already pulled out that 1 second gap to third place Girassi, who's coming under threat from Slimbo behind now. Slimbo sits in the slipstream, pulls out to the outside, coming down into turn 1. Can he make it stick before the corner? Yes, he can. Up into P3 and a double Ferrari podium.
And that's exactly what Daniel would want. He's got his rear gunner right behind him. That's perfect for him now, and I think that's exactly what they would have planned. And still Cohen under some pressure from Menno. He seems to have slowed down a bit with his attacking, but of course now the car behind Menno is Danico. So we've seen Danico already give one of the championship contenders some grief tonight with how quick he's been. I suspect he's about to do the same to the other.
The gaps are still very close. But like you've mentioned, perfect situation for Daniel right now. Cohen only down in 6th, and Daniel in 2nd, not far behind the leader, and his teammate Slimbo right behind him. Brilliant situation for him, and very comfortable as well.
Yeah, there'll be a lot less panic now for him. He's only sitting a second behind Cazizzo at the moment as well, so Cazizzo not getting away as quickly as what he did at the start of the race. But still just trying to stretch that lead, and currently just has got Cazizzo out of his DRS, but we are talking literally thousandths of a second here, so Daniel's hovering around that crucial 1 second mark to get the DRS effect. As Dartbolt, he ghosted there all of a sudden. Has he had an error somewhere?
Yeah, I was looking at that little piece of debris on the exit of the last corner in the second sector, and yes, Dartbolt has lost his front right end plate. And the man to watch in the second half of the race is basically out of contention because his entire front right end plate is missing. Let's look at Danico. Is he going to line up a move? He's in the middle. He's in a little sandwich, and he's going down the inside and around the outside at the same time. And he's managed to do it. What a move by Danico. Moves up 2 positions at once, right through the middle, around the outside of Darkbolt and down the inside of Menno. Wow.
That's absolutely stunning from Danico, and fair play to all the drivers involved there. That could have easily gone wrong as Dartbolt.
Yeah, he's down.
Just letting drivers through, I suspect. But yeah, Danico, to get that double overtake done and without contact between the trio of them, Cohen must have looked at his mirrors and thought, uh-oh, I don't like the look of this at all. But thankfully, they all drove superbly, and Danico deserves a lot of praise for that overtake, and you get the feeling he's not done there because he's already right on the back of Cohen.
Yeah, Cohen won't like the look of that Alfa Romeo behind him. Those yellow marked tyres on that car with that driver inside is going to be very, very
I tell you
difficult
what, though,
to keep behind.
Look at Daniel. He is now he's really close. He had a poor exit out of 15 there, which hasn't helped his case, but he was 3 tenths behind for a brief moment, and he is now within striking range of Cazizzo, and my goodness me, an extra 4 points would change your championship completely.
Oh, slightly, because this is slightly the wall on the outside. I wonder if he's got from wing damage. I didn't see parts flying, but that definitely cost him time. And yes, it looks like he's pitting. He's pitting.
Oh, no! Well, that's utterly bizarre. He literally done the corner because he was retired. Wow, from the race lead to retiring in the space of, what, 10 seconds? That is incredible. I've got no words for that. That was such a... really a bit of a clumsy error, to be honest, because he technically wasn't in a corner at that point.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like just a loss of concentration. That's all you can really put that sort of thing down to.
Yeah, maybe he was just looking too much behind him to see how quickly Daniel will catch up to him on that straight. And Daniel and the Ferrari team is in the best possible situation now. Daniel leading the race, 1.9 ahead of his teammate, and his teammate, I'm pretty sure he won't attack him at all. And now Daniel has all that clean air ahead of him to build out that gap. Daneko looking feisty behind Cohen as well, and then Mano as well on the mediums. It's going to be a hard time for Cohen to keep that 4th spot, and he's got 4 medium runners right behind him now.
Yeah, and Daneko is the fastest driver in terms of fastest lap. He's fast driver on circuit because Zizzle did have the fastest lap, but of course now out the race. So yeah, right now I've got to say Cohen is under pressure, but he's starting to close in on Girassi as well. So it is all bunching up from 2nd place downwards, and maybe, I don't know, is that maybe a tactic from Slimbo? He's trying to get more cars in between Daniel and Cohen, perhaps. But here goes Daneko. He's in the slipstream. He's not needing to use much overtake. I think he's going to have a good opportunity to pass here because Cohen doesn't have DRS down this pit straight. And here he goes down the inside. Daneko is going to have the move done before they get to turn 1. And that's 4th place for Daneko, and that's down to 5th for Cohen. And if a race were to finish now, Cohen's lead would be down from 16 to just 6 points.
Yeah, not a good race so far for Cohen. And remember, he's on 11 lap old hards. Those won't feel great towards the end of this race either. So I don't think he'll have the best time for the second half of this race now.
No, definitely not. He's just kind of got to try and hang on to what he can get out of it. Girassi is trying to come back at Slimbo. Girassi will know, but with Daniel in the lead and Cohen in 5th, like, it doesn't matter really what he does. He's out of the championship. I think he probably knew that already, but he's still doing a good job, and he's having another good race. Is the AlphaTauri driver right behind Slimbo, who, to be fair, isn't lapping too slowly. If anything, he's actually dragging himself closer to his teammate.
It's not really looking like they've got everything under control now, Daniel and Slimbo, if I'm honest. But maybe it's just a tactic we don't know too much about at the minute. But what I do know is that Cornet wants to get past that racing point ahead of him, and I think he's about to do so as well on the main straight. And I think Cornet is a bit more of a threat than Meno was for Cohen, because I feel like Cornet has got a bit more pace than Meno at the minute.
Speaking of threat, is Girassi about to have a go at Slimbo for P2? He's right within the wheel tracks. He's going to run out of straight before he gets down to turn 1, but Daneko is right there too, and he will fancy his chances of getting past a pair of these. So, I don't know. I mean, looking at the gaps, it's not out of the question yet, but Daneko, there's still a chance he could end up on the top step of the podium, but he's going to need to get these two drivers out of the way quickly.
He's going to run out of straight. Not sure if I've heard that ever before, but is that maybe a little hint for Tilke to change the track here and there? Maybe a bit more straight?
I mean, if it would be a weird complaint to have, considering I think this is the longest straight out there.
Yeah.
But
I think
you
it
had a
couldn't
bit
get
more,
much
but
more
it's
than
just
that.
not enough. No, it's definitely not like the DRS zone at Monaco, which may just be the most pointless thing in existence.
Well, we've had probably... Did we have an overtake at Monaco? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I believe we had one on-track overtake. Yes.
Apart from the start, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Mick Schumacher got his teammate at the hairpin, but that was
yeah.
what I remember. not one that's too easy to remember.
Oh yeah, and then
considering...
Mazepin went back past Schumacher when he had his like fuel problem. I heard. At least he said that on German TV. But yeah, it wasn't that exciting in terms of on-track action. We definitely had loads and loads of more overtakes here tonight. And I think we're about to see another one as Cornet is still in the slipstream of Menno, closer than ever. Not using his overtake just yet. Might be able to use it now, but Menno doesn't really defend from him either. And there goes Cornet up into P7 then. And my phone was ringing. Sorry for that. And Cornet up into P6 and building up a new threat for Cohen then.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I don't think Cohen will be particularly liking that, because I think it's fair to say Cornet's probably got a little bit more pace. What's happened to Girassi? Girassi's lost a place to Danico. So Danico up into the podium positions. I didn't quite catch that one, unfortunately, but Danico has grabbed P3 there off Girassi, and that's one car. That's one less car to worry about. And all of a sudden, what looked like an easy Ferrari sort of stroll in the park isn't looking quite so easy now. You've got Daniel struggling a little bit for pace out front, and you've got the super quick Danico right behind the pair of them on medium tyres. So this might be a 1-2 for Ferrari, but it's far from comfortable.
Yeah, it doesn't look as good as it was looking. It looks like Ryan just made another mistake.
Right. Yeah, he's got front wing damage.
Yeah. And look at Cornet. Cornet already closed up to Cohen's
Cohen's got into the wall! Cohen just into the wall on the exit of turn 15, and that's damage on the Haas. Another error for my championship leader. This has been a scruffy afternoon for him. And that's yet another mistake that could be crucial. Is he going to pit, or is he just going to try and hang on to it for the rest of the race? He could pit for softs now if he wanted to. But he's looking at just trying to salvage whatever he can now from this race. This is going terribly wrong as Danico grabs P2 off Slimbo into turn 1. So it is no longer a Ferrari 1-2, and Danico will fancy his chances of winning this Grand Prix. And right now, Danico's biggest supporter is probably Cohen.
Yeah,
We've got a virtual safety car.
Oh, yeah. Because
well, that'll help Cohen a little bit.
Where did Ryan retire?
Where is that on track?
I
can't see it. Yeah, I don't really know. Has somebody else gone into a wall? Something else I just want to check. Don't believe so. Yes, and that's obviously the first error. Well, the first sort of front wing damage Cohen got, he sort of put down to being like a lap 1 typical incident, but he was all on his own there, and he just understeered wide at turn 15. And clip the outside wall. It's not an error you've seen often from Cohen this season, but is that championship pressure just starting to tell?
I tell you which pressure is starting to tell. Danico's on Daniel now within the last 9 laps we've got ahead of us now. About 8 when we cross the line. Because obviously Danico on 3-lap fresher mediums, the faster compound, and I think Irashi just went a bit wide, and yes, he has lost a bit of his end plate, or let's rather say his entire front right end plate.
Got a few drivers getting caught out here. That could help Cohen gain a place, and also Slimbo just got a penalty as well, so he's going to drop a few positions, I think, as it stands. Well, maybe 1 position to Cornet. What's Girassi going to do? He's going to stay out, so he's obviously just thinking, I'm going to see this damage through to the end. It's not worth pitting from his point of view, but I get the feeling we're going to see a change for the lead very soon, and this is going to be crucial, because if things stayed as they are right now, Cohen's lead will be down to just 1 point. If Danico can get past Daniel, it goes up to 5, so this is how much he's riding on this overtake.
Yeah, Danico could play a crucial part in this championship fight here, as both drivers lock up going into turn 3, and Daniel will just think, please mate, just stay out of this fight. I want to win that championship, but it looks like Danico just has that little bit more pace than Daniel has got, obviously on the better tyres as well. And it's not going to be an easy task for Daniel to stay ahead in those remaining 8 laps that we've got now. 7.5 I should rather say, as we head into the castle section with Daniel and Daneco, and it's super close in between those two. Lakita's just gone past Lorenzo at a very odd place on the track.
Yeah, I didn't catch that one. I'm just having a look now. Has Lorenzo got some damage on his front wing? Yes, he has. Lorenzo's got damage on the right hand side of his front wing. I don't know if that led to the overtake from Lakitu, or if that's because of the overtake by Lakitu. But either way, Lorenzo's got damage on his front wing, and you can see him dropping back, and that will help Cohen up a few places here. So he's going to probably get a position on Lorenzo, and it remains to be seen what happens with Girassi. He doesn't look like he wants to pit, but you can see he's struggling.
Sorry to interrupt you, but there goes the fight for the lead, and there goes Daneco flying past Daniel on the main straight. No chance whatsoever for Daniel to defend, and that he is down in P2. He's got a lot of ERS left, so he might try and stay with him for as long as he can to maybe make use of the one tyres, use of the one medium tyres, I should rather say, at the end of this race. But at the moment, Daniel doesn't gain as many points as he did just 20 seconds ago. And Cohen also made up a spot due to that front wing damage by Lorenzo as well.
Yeah, it's just the gaps between them. Obviously, Cohen's just gained a place and Daniel's just lost one. So every time that happens, that just helps Cohen's lead that a little bit more. But there's no doubt about it. His championship is firmly back on now. So, you know, we've got an exciting climax in Brazil, which I think is what certainly I as a neutral wanted. And now we're looking at Girassi, who is defending with his front wing damage, but you can see how much he's struggling for pace. Cornet only passed him at the start of this lap. He's already gained 1.5 seconds on him, and I suspect it's a matter of time before Menno gets past as well.
But I gotta say, Daniel's got a lot of ERS left in comparison to Daneco, who's on less than 10% now, and he's using it quite a lot as well. So is Daniel to stay within that DRS window, and he's managing it pretty well. If he can manage that the way he is right now until lap 25, I think that at least is going to be a little chance for Daniel to get back past Daneco, as Menno passes Girassi very easily now. And yeah, Daniel, I think he's not out of the contention for the win just yet. I think the ties from Daneco will drop down at some point in the race, and if Daniel's then close enough, I think he could have a chance. Cohen picks up fastest lap and goes past Lakitu, who's just pitted, so up into P8 then.
Yeah, Lakita's gone for a change of front wing, but to be fair, there's a few drivers behind Cohen on soft, so I don't think he'll keep that fastest lap, but he'll definitely keep that P8. But unless there's any mistakes from cars in front, P8 might be his limit here. We'll have to wait and see. But another thing Daniel might be considering here is he's already seen Daneco go off at the castle section once already, so he might just be thinking, if I can keep this Alfa Romeo under pressure, he may make another mistake. So all he's got to do is stay within touching range, but he's actually got to worry about his teammate here. We talked about Slimbo being Daniel's rear gunner here, but is he about to put a little bit of a twist in this race, and is he going to attack his teammate?
I'm really not concerned about the track limits around this track, because everyone is just cutting. I don't know which turn it is.
It's turn 15. Yeah, I think it's strange really, because Codemasters often are too harsh with the corner cutting on his game, but turn 15 they just seem to completely ignore it.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of real life in that case, because obviously in real life drivers completely ignore track limits. But I think in real life this is actually the first season that the FIA or the stewards are really looking at those track limits and actually giving penalties to drivers, because I can't remember that many black and white flags in the recent years.
No, definitely not. A quick update from Kazezel, obviously retired from the race early on when he was in the lead. He's informed us that he got damage in the castle section. So that is what cost him, unfortunately. I'm a little bit disappointed he retired though, to be honest, because I think he could have carried on and still had a say in this race, especially with the drama that's unfolded since. So his race was by no means over. So, but I'm guessing frustration probably creeped in. Probably a bit annoyed at himself after that error.
We got quite a nice fight for P9 going on actually. 3 drivers the same part of the track. I saw a change of position there just a couple of seconds ago. I really don't know who passed who, but I reckon Lorenzo went past Lakitu and Darkboard maybe as well, but I'm not sure. Lakitu passed Darkboard, no idea, but there was definitely a position change I just saw there, so we could keep an eye on that fight maybe as well. But Daniel has dropped back a little bit.
He doesn't look like he's got an answer to Danico's pace at the moment. I think Danico was marginally quicker when they're on the same tyres. Obviously now he's on mediums. He's got a few extra temps on him. The only hope he can have is that Danico loses his tyres a little bit towards the end. He can maybe come back at him. I'm just keeping an eye. Obviously Slimbo does have a corner cutting penalty, so Daniel doesn't have to worry too much if he goes past him, but I suppose the last thing he needs is seeing his teammate right in his mirrors.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit of a team tactic as well, that maybe Slimbo is saying, alright, I think I can go a bit quicker than that, let me try and pass. Oh no, he's made a mistake and he's went straight on! And he's reset to track. Wow, was that dangerous? I think it was, because he got straight in the way of Cornet and Daniel just dropped from P2 to P4.
This race just keeps providing more drama. We can't believe it. Daniel in such good position to gain a substantial amount of points on Cohen, and he's just thrown it away. Now, we've talked about team orders already between the Ferrari guys. Now, if Slimbo drops back a bit, Daniel can get that position off him at the end. What's going to happen there, I wonder? Obviously, Cornet's now in between the pair of them. But that's not going to do Daniel's tyres any good, locking up like that, and he'll be gutted with that mistake, as Lakitu has gone off the track as well. That's quite an odd place to do so, actually. I think that's at turn 4. That's a bit of an odd one, but yeah, Lakitu just rejoining now. But wow,
I gotta say, sorry, yeah, go on.
I say we've seen frailties in both the title contenders tonight. We really have.
Yeah, I mean, it might just be the pressure, but I gotta say though, I think if I would be the second Ferrari driver, I'm not in the championship fight, I have a penalty anyway. I just slow down, let my teammate go by, and let him get those extra 2 points, because they could be crucial in the end, and it would be really a team play move for him to do that.
Well, the thing is as well is he doesn't even need to actually lose track position. He could just lose about a second, drop back by about a second and a half or something like that, and that penalty would basically ensure that Daniel was in front of Slimbo. So yeah, but he may also, obviously Slimbo's argument will be, well, it was Daniel's mistake, I don't see why I need to, but it could get interesting down the Ferrari pit wall right now. There's probably a lot of conversations going on, but one thing that Daniel's got to be careful of now is he may potentially come under threat from Menno, who's just a couple of seconds behind himself. But yeah, he'll be so annoyed. I mean, as it stands, he's still going to gain points on Cohen, but he'll know it should be more than this.
I've just realised Cohen is catching up massively to Kryptonite. And Kryptonite is not far away from Girassi as well. Remember, Girassi has got that from wing damage, so Cohen might still have a chance of P60 in this race.
Yeah, and that would mean that he would only lose 3 points to Daniel. If he can, he probably doesn't think he deserves it on balance, but it could still happen. But Daniel is one to look out for as well, because he's starting to come back at Cornet, so he could still get P3, and P2 is still now out of the question as well. That's going to be tight with his teammate if his teammate doesn't lift off, which at the moment he's clearly not doing, because Danico's not pulling away from him.
Yeah, but why? Kryptonite and Girassi are fighting. Yep, Kryptonite has just gone clean around the outside before the corner even started. And I think Cohen has really got a good chance of gaining at least one more spot. And who knows, that maybe even a single point will make a big difference in the end with one round remaining. next week in Brazil, that might decide it. And you can't just let those points slip away from you. If you've got the opportunity to get them, you need to take the opportunity. And same goes for Daniel. He needs to get that position back. He's made an error and he needs to fight back now. He needs that third spot back, and then he needs that second spot as well. If he finishes P4 here, I think it's going to be a tough time for him in the last race, because this was a really, really big chance for him to gain some good points on his rival.
That's the thing, he probably didn't expect this opportunity, but now it's come, he had to take advantage of it. And as it stands, he's not really doing that. He's hovering around the gap to Slimbo, and obviously he's close to Cornet. So he could finish second here, but he could also quite easily finish fourth. It's a really tough one to call. And Cornet won't want to give up that position either, because he knows if he loses time to Slimbo, that could cost him as well. But we've got a really interesting final lap in store here as well, because you mentioned Cohen. I think he's going to get Girassi, and he might have a pop at Kryptonite as well.
It's all coming down to the last lap then. We've had 25 laps of racing action already, and it's going to come down to the last one here on lap 26 then. Daniel hasn't got much ERS left. I really don't know if he's going to make it. It's going to be a tough one, but let's give our race leader Daneko some more screen time as well, because he's done a great job, especially considering he's had a big crash as well. He's made a mistake, but he's fought back, had a brilliant strategy, and right now it really looks like he's going to take the win here in Baku. And it was the crazy race we've expected so far, and yeah, he just needs to bring it home now. Daniel's 7 tenths behind. 7 tenths, that's not close enough. And I wonder what happens with Cohen, 6 tenths behind. And then 6 tenths ahead of Girassi, that is Kryptonite. So he's still got potential for 2 more positions, but will he use that potential?
Oh, this is a dramatic finish. And then you've got Daniel only just 3 seconds behind his teammate, who's got that 3-second penalty. So there's so much yet to be decided. And Cohen is right behind Girassi. But I've got to say, Daneko's wondering what the fuss is about, because he's about to take what has been a fantastic recovery win, especially after that incident at the castle.
Yeah, there goes Daneko. About to cross the line. And he wins in Baku. Great race from him. Slimbo P2 on track. And it looks like Cornet has taken P3 ahead of Daniel. And Daniel is P4.
Yep, not enough, and Cohen isn't going to get any higher than 8. So there you go.
Oh, it was side by side across the line in between Girassi and Kryptonite. Oh, wow. Oh, look at that gap. Look at that gap in between Slimbo and Daniel and Cornet. And I gotta say, I thought Ferrari was going to play the team game here, but Slimbo wasn't having it. Slimbo didn't want to do it.
It's such a tough one from the perspective of both drivers. Daniel already left session. I think I get the feeling he'll be very angry inside that Ferrari cockpit. There might be some stern words on the Ferrari pit wall. Obviously, you're a driver. You've been in these championship situations. Do you think Ferrari should? Do you think Slimbo should have slowed down a bit, or can you understand why he didn't?
Gotta say, I think he should have slowed down. I think he should have, just because there's nothing for him to win anymore in the championship. And I don't know how the relationship is, but if that was me, I would have helped my teammate. I would have let him go, and that one less podium for me wouldn't matter all too much in the championship. But if now Daniel loses the championship due to 1 or 2 points, he'll be mad at his teammate. And I wouldn't have taken that risk as a team, and I think I would have let my teammate go through there.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's put it into sort of English now, in terms of, these are, of course, provisional results. We don't know what will happen in the stewards, of course. But as it stands right now, Cohen will have an 11-point advantage over Daniel going to Brazil. If Slimbo had to slow down that bit more, he would have only had a 9-point lead. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a big difference. 11 points, you would still say is a pretty solid lead to have going to Brazil.
Yeah, it seems comfortable, but it can just all fall apart within milliseconds. So he'll definitely need to step up his game from this week, Cohen, because today was just not his day. Too many mistakes, and he was lucky that Daniel made that one single crucial big mistake where he went into the runoff area into turn 3. And that cost him, in the end, a total of 4 points, which is massive. And I'm excited for next week. But driver of the day, I'm going to start, and I'm going to have to go with a boring choice. I'm going to say Daneko. I mean, he's had a brilliant first lap. I remember I think he was up 3 places or 2 places within a lap and a corner. And he put on a great fight, made a big mistake, but he fought his way back through the field. Brilliant strategy on the mediums, and in the end, coming home for a very deserved win. And in the end, for me, the only possible choice for driver of the day.
Yeah, I think it's a great shout. Obviously, it's like you. I always feel like I'm taking such a boring, safe option when I go for the race winner. But it's hard to argue against it. He had the troubles in the castle section, but he recovered brilliantly. And we talked about Dartbolt being in the best position on the restart. He'll be feeling like that's an opportunity that's gone begging. But Daneko was there to take advantage on those medium tyres. He made it work, and he deservedly got the win in the end. And well, we talked about it being a Ferrari 1-2 for so long. They finished 3rd and 4th. It all went wrong for Ferrari. I think they'll be disappointed. But Slimbo, particularly in the Discord chat, sounds very happy with how it went. So it does make you wonder, maybe there isn't that much of a relationship between the two Ferrari drivers, and how will that affect things going to Brazil? Because I get the impression that if Luke is racing at Brazil, he'll be a much bigger help to Cohen than Slimbo will be to Daniel.
That is true. I think a good teammate is so crucial in a championship fight, and we saw that in Red Bull F1 as well in the recent years with Valtteri Bottas, and I think Valtteri Bottas has helped Mercedes win some championships as well just by Lewis Hamilton. I think Lewis Hamilton would have won anyway, but he definitely made it easier at some occasions here and there, holding up other drivers, and to win a championship, sometimes you need a good teammate. And if someone has a good teammate who was a team player, then, and you don't, it's going to be very difficult for you to win against him.
Daneko's asking where the interviews are.
Interviews will be next week. At least I would suggest. I don't know what about you, but I'd say for the final race, it's always interviews.
Yeah, I tend to save the interviews now for the sort of either the final week or when the title's decided.
Yeah.
So,
but it's good to see
let him know about
that the title fight is continuing to next week to Brazil in Interlagos. So make sure to tune in once again next week, Monday, 7 p.m. UK time. It's going to be me and Jake, hopefully once again commentating for you. And yeah, it was a pleasure, Jake. Once again, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, no problem at all. I mean, so much drama to unfold there, and that's one of the best. That's one of the most enjoyable commentaries I've had in a long time.
Yeah, and I hope it's going to be the same for us next week. So make sure to tune in when I forgot the names for a second. I don't know why. Cohen and Daniel are fighting for the championship title in season 28 of PSGL F3. So until then, goodbye and take care.